Cretan Archers, right. They really get the imagination going, and if you're looking to dive deeper into their world, well, we've got the perfect thing for you today.
Oh, absolutely.
Journey from Exile. It's a historical fiction novel set during the Second Punic War, and we're using it to uncover some fascinating stuff about these warrior archers.
You know, historical fiction, it can really be a powerful lens. It helps us connect with the past, more personally, through the lives of characters like Zarek, in this case, the Cretan archer, at the heart of it all.
Yeah, and right off the bat, we're thrown right into it. Zarek's coming home after years as a mercenary, only to find himself, exiled.
It's rough.
No heroes welcome for him. This wasn't just a slap on the wrist back then, was it?
Oh, no, not at all. Exile in ancient Crete, that was serious business. A harsh punishment, often for things that seem, almost minor now, or sometimes for disobeying, let's say, the powers that be.
Right.
Imagine it, cut off from your home, your people, everything you know. Zarek's story, it really highlights how even the most skilled people, they weren't immune to the realities of their times. The social and political pressures, all of it.
It makes you think. So he ends up finding shelter with his sister, Nasa. She's got this young boy, Jace, living with her.
And that's where things take a very interesting turn, I'd say.
For sure. Jace, a shipwreck survivor, nobody's quite sure about his past, becomes Zarek's student, learning the ways of the Cretan archer.
But his training, this rigorous ogoge, as it was called, it's about way more than just, physical strength.
Right, and the author really gets into it, the mental and physical tests Jace goes through. What got me was the emphasis on discipline. The icy water trials, that's intense. Was there a deeper reason for pushing these guys to the limit like that?
See, there's this misconception that Cretan archers, it was all about physical prowess.
Yeah.
But their training, that ogoge, it built mental toughness, strategic thinking too, and all that from a young age.
Fascinating.
This mental discipline, forged through hardship, it was key to how they analyzed the battlefield, outmaneuvering their opponents, knowing when to shoot, where to shoot, not just how.
That's a really interesting point. It changes how you see those tough training methods. It wasn't just about being tough. It was about creating warriors who could think under pressure.
Exactly.
Smart.
That approach to training, the mental and physical, that's what set them apart, made them the most sought-after mercenaries.
Okay, so we've got this foundation of intense training, mental discipline, but what about the weapons themselves? I was surprised to learn it wasn't just bows and arrows for these guys.
Yeah, right. Incredibly versatile warriors. The novel highlights their use of shields, hatchets, all sorts. They were good at close combat, too. This versatility, it meant they could adapt to anything, really challenged that image of archers just being, ranged fighters.
Yeah, the multi-tool warriors of their time. Ready for anything. With this training, the adaptability, the weapons, it makes you wonder, how were they seen back then?
Yeah.
How'd the ancient world view them?
Excellent question. And it's something we'll get into definitely as we follow Zarek and Jace's story. The book does a great job of exploring the perceptions, the prejudices even, surrounding Cretan archers, especially with the Roman army. But getting ahead of myself.
All right, then. So we've established Cretan archers. They were more than meets the eye. Training wasn't just physical, it was mental too.
Yeah.
And far from one-dimensional fighters, skilled with all sorts of weaponry. Let's move on to how this all plays out when Jace, trained in this unique Cretan tradition, gets caught up in the Second Punic War. Last time we were talking about how Cretan archers, they were more than just, guys with bows. The training, the way they could adapt, it all added up to a different breed of warrior.
Definitely.
But now our story, it throws us right into the Second Punic War, a conflict that really shook things up, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. A pivotal moment. Rome versus Carthage, fighting for control. And we see some of the most legendary battles, legendary leaders too, like Hannibal Barca.
And right in the thick of it is Jace, our young Cretan archer. He finds himself in Phalacerna with the Roman legion, facing off against, who else? Hannibal's forces.
Talk about a baptism by fire.
That's an understatement. Here's where all those years of training, they really get put to the test.
Right. And the book doesn't sugarcoat it. Jace, he sees it all. The brutality of war, the tough choices, the chaos. It's a whole different world from his training.
It's real, not just practice anymore. And it's not only about him becoming a better warrior either. Jace's Cretan skills, they catch the eye of the Roman tribune, Cornelius Scipio. What I found interesting was how at first the Romans, they're skeptical of these Cretan archers. Was that just a culture clash thing or something more?
It's a bit of both, actually. See, the Roman army, they are all about their legions, disciplined, fighting up close, formations, all that. Archers, especially foreign mercenaries, they were seen as, secondary. So there's this built-in bias, a clash of styles, you could say.
Like comparing a well-oiled machine to, I don't know, a pack of wolves. Both effective, but totally different. And this clash, it comes to a head at the Battle of Trasimene.
Yes. And the author uses that battle, a real historical event, to show how those Cretan archers, even with the doubts, could change everything. Remember their mental game, their strategic thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is where it shines.
It wasn't just shooting arrows from a distance, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Jace uses his training, how he understands the land, tactics, to outsmart the enemy and save a trapped Roman force. Almost like chess, thinking several moves ahead.
Precisely. The book makes you see beyond the stereotype of an archer. Jace's strategic mind, how he analyzes the fight, predicts what the enemy will do, those are all Cretan training. The Battle of Trasimene, even fictionalized, it highlights how crucial those archers could be, how they could swing the outcome of a battle, even the toughest ones.
So we've gone from doubt, cultural differences, to seeing those Cretan skills in action on a huge scale. Makes you think, history. It's not always about brute force. Intelligence, knowing when and where to strike, those are crucial too.
Absolutely. And Journey from Exile, it drives that point home. But the story doesn't stop there. Jace's path, it's all tied up with the Second Punic War, and it shows even more about the role those Cretan archers played.
And that's something we'll dig into in the final part of our deep dive, exploring the history, the legacy, what makes these warrior archers so fascinating. So we've followed Jace from exile to skilled archer. We've seen how that Cretan training, it paid off even in the chaos of the Second Punic War. But this deep dive, it's bigger than just one story, isn't it?
It really is.
It's about understanding those Cretan archers, the real ones, where they fit into history. What's got you hooked on these warriors when you step outside the novel and all that?
It's their legacy. Archers without borders. That's how I see them. For centuries, they were the mercenaries everyone wanted, from Persia to Egypt, even Rome, like we've seen. And their rep, accuracy, discipline, knowing how to adapt, it wasn't just a Cretan thing. Other cultures, they respected that.
The novel wasn't messing around then. They really were at the top of their game. But what set them apart? Training.
Yeah.
Gear. A bit of both. What makes a whole culture that good at something like archery?
Like you said, it's a recipe, right? You got to have all the right ingredients. We talked about the Agars, how they trained so hard, built that discipline, that strategic thinking right from the start. But they had a tech advantage too. You can't forget that.
Oh, right.
Cretan bows, those composite bows, layers of wood, horn, sinew, they were engineering marvels. Way more power, way more range than the regular wooden bows everyone else was using.
So picture it, two armies clashing. One side's got basic bows. The other, they've got these high-tech Cretan bows raining arrows down from what seems like twice the distance. It's like David versus Goliath, that kind of mismatch.
Exactly. You got it. And that tech, plus their training and adaptability, made them a force to be reckoned with. They weren't just good. They were masters, ready for anything, any terrain.
Which makes you think, if they were that good, so respected, why don't we hear more about them in the history books? Those big stories, the famous generals, the kings. Why aren't Cretan archers household names?
It's a puzzle, even for historians. One theory, it's because they were mercenaries, fought for the highest bidder, loyalties shifting with the wars, no single nation claiming them, building statues,
Like those Ronin master swordsmen without a master. Skills for hire, but no fixed allegiance. They were everywhere, but their names kind of lost in the flow of it all.
That's it, exactly. And while they shaped battles, even wars, their story, as part of other people's stories, they were the ones behind the scenes, tipping the scales, not leading the charge.
Makes Journey from Exile even more interesting, right? Gives us a look into their lives. Beyond the fighting, we see them training, struggling, succeeding, even if history remembers more about their arrows than who they were.
Exactly. He reminds us, history, it's more than just the big empires and famous leaders. It's about people, the skilled ones, the warriors, like Zarek and Jace. They lived, they fought, they changed the world. Cretan archers, they might be overlooked, but they prove that. Their skill, their ability to adapt, how they influenced ancient warfare, that's a legacy worth remembering.
So next time we read about mercenaries, archers, in those history books, we should think about the Cretan archers. Remember to look beyond the obvious heroes, see the impact of those who perfected their craft, even if history remembers more about their arrows than their names.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Masters of their craft. Their story, it's woven into the fabric of those ancient wars, and it deserves to be heard.
And on that note, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of Cretan archers. We hope you've enjoyed this journey through history, through fiction, and that you come away with a new appreciation for these incredible warriors. Until next time, keep exploring, keep those questions coming, and keep diving deep into the stories that shape our world. Cretan Archers, right, they really get the imagination going, and if you're looking to dive deeper into their world, well, we've got the perfect thing for you today.
Oh, absolutely.
Journey from Exile. It's a historical fiction novel set during the Second Punic War, and we're using it to uncover some fascinating stuff about these warrior archers.
You know, historical fiction, it can really be a powerful lens. It helps us connect with the past, more personally, through the lives of characters like Zarek, in this case, the Cretan archer, at the heart of it all.
Yeah, and right off the bat, we're thrown right into it. Zarek's coming home after years as a mercenary, only to find himself, well, exiled.
It's rough.